All right, good morning, sixth graders. We're thinking about verbs today. We thought a lot about verbs last week as well. You did a worksheet that had sentences, then with an A or an L for action or linking. And you were identifying what the main verb was out of those two categories, that kind of thing. Main verb there is a very helpful term, and we'll see that here on this verb tree behind me. So you are taking careful notes on that today. Then you're going on to a Google form as your worksheet. You do not need to accomplish your worksheet in the usual way, taking it out of Winston Grammar and handwriting and all that kind of thing. You're going to use the Google form this time. It counts as a homework grade, but it will prepare you for the method later on that we'll use for quizzes and things like that. So here we go. We've got verbs up here, of course, the main category, the main idea. Breaking it down into the two main kinds, linking and action, the kinds that you saw last week. These two actually are main in a very true sense. These are the two that can be main verbs in a sentence. Okay, I'm even going to use my red marker here and then put MV right there, MV. You've even seen me use this MV abbreviation before in class. A main verb is a verb that can stand at the center of a sentence, let's say. It can actually make a sentence a sentence. Of course, we know that a sentence is a group of related words with a subject and a verb that expresses a complete thought. And this verb has to be a main verb. Even something like I think, I talk. Talk there is a main verb. Or I am. That works actually. Am is the main verb in that case. It's a linking verb, a verb to be in that sense, to show my existence in that way. Or I am afraid, linking me to the idea of being afraid, that kind of thing. So these are main verbs, the linking and the action. Okay. Let's move on here and look a little more closely at the action verbs. And this is probably what comes to our mind most of the time when we think about verbs. We think about those actions like hit or run or something like that. Transitive, you'll see it there, Transitive. A transitive verb, you could think of it as a verb that transfers its action to a direct object. A transitive verb transfers its action to a direct object. Something like hit. We don't have to say what I hit. I can say I hit. But hit can take a direct object. I could say I hit the wall. I hit my brother. Something like that, right? That's the direct object there, my brother or the wall. An intransitive verb cannot take a direct object. Something like river flows. The river flows. We can't say the river flows me or the river flows the rock or something like that. It just doesn't make sense. It's just the river flows. That's what the action is. My dog ran. Something like that, right? That's what the action is. It can't be transitive to be something like my dog ran me or something like that. It would have to be my dog ran me out or something along those lines. It would change the meaning actually of the word if we tried to force it into having the object that way. So it's an intransitive verb. Even something like I sat in the chair. I rose from the chair. That kind of thing. It's an intransitive verb. Now over on the linking verb here, we could actually break it down a little bit and say that there is one, like I mentioned before, which is to be. It basically means to exist. I am, that kind of idea. On the other hand here, we could have the idea of linking the subject to the predicate idea, I am afraid. The blanket is fluffy, something along those lines. These are often words of perception, something like I feel cold. The pizza tastes good. Those kinds of verbs of perception often actually are linking verbs in that way. There's an easy test for it. Anytime you have a word like feel or taste or something like that and you think it's a linking verb, take it out and replace it with to be. If it works, then it was truly a linking verb. Okay? Think about if I say, I feel warm and cozy. I can take feel out and make it I am. Am, which is of course a form of to be. I am warm and cozy. Well, that works perfectly fine. Feel in that case was a linking verb. Now, feel can be a linking verb. It also can be an action verb. If we said, I turned out the lights, so I feel the wall in order to find the door, then it's an action verb. But notice how I can't replace that one with to be. The lights turn out, so I am the wall to find the door. It makes no sense. In that case, there are some words like feel, which are linking verbs. I feel happy, but they also can be action verbs. You test it by replacing this linking verb with the form of the verb to be. Now last, our third category, but see, he's different. He's a different kind of category because he cannot be a main verb, an MV. He cannot make the whole sentence by himself in this meaning. It's the helping verb. Now the difficulty is this word auxiliary. You will see this word auxiliary in English grammar. And people will talk about auxiliary verbs. You've studied some Latin for yourselves there. You may know the word auxilium, auxilii. It's like these sort of extra troops, right? Helping troops that come in. That's where we get the word auxiliary. It's sort of helping troops to make the verb mean all that it needs to mean. So in helping verbs, we would have things like a verb to make the time of the action proper, say in the future tense. In the past tense, we add ed. For example, I walk. In the past, it's I walked. But what is it in the future? I will walk. So it might help it to mean future. Sometimes people who study grammar will use like all capitals to show that it's just a feature of something. I will walk. Well, we can't actually have the sentence be just I will. That doesn't work. Walk has to be there as the main verb, right? Now, sometimes in conversations, someone can say, wow, will you walk? And you can say, I will. But what's happened in that conversation is that walk has been implied. It's been understood from the back and forth conversation you had with the person. But just imagine if you walked in first thing for breakfast, you hadn't said a word to your parents or your sibling or whoever it is, and you just say, I will. That'd make no sense. They would turn to you and say, you will what? And what they're doing there is they're searching for that main verb because you've got to have the main verb to complete the thought. So that's what's going on with the helping verb. He is only a helper. But when we say, I will walk, we are taking the normal action word meaning of walk and helping it to mean future by putting the word will in there. The same thing happens with a group of verbs called the modal auxiliaries or the helping verbs. You don't need to know that word. We're not going to quiz or test on that, but that does help you to understand these other kinds of words here. These are words like should, could, and would, right? They help to show actually that we're not talking about something that really is the case right now, but maybe something that could possibly be the case. If we could be back together in the classroom at Veritas, we would be. Do you see it's showing the power to do something, the ability, and then also the possibility. If we had the ability, it would be a possibility, which we would do. They're showing the kind of meaning that is, but the main verb I used in that sentence was meet. Meet in the classroom. If we could meet in the classroom at Veritas, then we would. So these verbs like could and would were helping us to show the ideas of possibility and helping the verb to mean all that it can mean. But it was meet in that case, which was the main verb, which is an action verb. Notice that the helping verbs can help the linking verb as well, right? Be all that you can be, right? It's a helping verb going together with that linking verb because the linking verb can be a main verb as well. The one sad thing here that I will go ahead and leave with you as we're wrapping it up is the sad reality that the verb to be can show up just about anywhere. Just about anywhere. So the form of the verb to be, right? Is, am, are, was, were, be, being, been. Okay? All those are forms of the verb to be. Well, the verb to be can be a helping verb. It can be a linking verb, and it actually can be part of making an action verb. Now, that does make it a helping verb, but we can see it sometimes with an action verb. So it can help a verb to be in what's known as the passive voice. It can help a verb to be in what's known as the progressive tense, like I am walking, that kind of thing. Or it can mean something like I am sad. The form of the verb to be can show up all over the place. So we have to keep that in mind, that different words can fit in multiple categories like this, but in one sentence, they're only one of them. Okay? Just like we've said before, that a word like today in the dictionary is a noun and an adverb. In a sentence, it's only one of them, and we got to know which one it is. We got to figure it out, what its function is in that one sentence. Certain verbs, like I pointed out here, even with the word feel, and certainly with the verb to be, they can fit in more than one of these categories. But in a particular sentence, of course, they're only one of them. They're only functioning as one of them. So that's sort of a broader way to look at all of what's going on in verbs. The main thing you want to see is that linking and action verbs, they are the two main kinds of verbs, and we call them main verbs because they actually are main verbs of sentences. They can actually make a sentence a true sentence. Together with them, we get these helping verbs. And helping verbs come in many different varieties, but any verb that is helping a main verb make meaning, but can't be by itself, that's a helping verb. So keep those different kinds of verbs in mind, and it'll serve you very well. So thanks so much, and blessings on the rest of your day and on your weekend, which will start here after we finish things up on a Friday. Take care.